Amy, Michael, we're happy to respond to your inquiries. Let me just say that there are others of the UDC Law students. We had about 8 or 9 who worked on this issue. Just everybody with UDC.
Yes, yes.
Raise your hand. Raise it high.
Thank you.
Very good people. Come on up, Amy. Your questions, Mr. Sherwood and Pete and others?
Well, the first question is, inconvenience and aggravation and irritation over the search is not obviously a legal basis. And succinctly as possible for people in the general public, what is the legal basis for saying these searches violate the rights of the individual?
Well, I think, Michael, you want to respond or you want to? I think the courts have not been dispositive of the right of law enforcement to use suspicionless searches as a means of controlling, deterring, or fighting supposed terrorist activity. And in this case, I think you have a factual basis that is even stronger against the use of suspicionless searches. As I said in my opening remarks, both General Manager Sarles and Chief Taborn have stated publicly, and you can go to YouTube and listen to their statements, that the rollout of these bag searches were not in response to any specific terrorist threat. And they considered it in 2008 and decided not to do it. And so I think that the courts are loath to embrace suspicionless searches unless there is what they call a special need. And we just don't believe that a special need has been demonstrated here, given the statements of the General Manager and the Chief of Police, given that nothing happened between 2008 and December 2010, given that when you weigh the inconvenience and aggravation, the balancing test that the courts have looked at against the cost, and we're not just talking about costs to our privacy and costs to and the intrusion into our lives, but we're talking about real costs, money that could be used for other purposes. And so effectiveness is also another thing that courts look at. So for those reasons, not only do I, but several law professors who will release a statement this week, and others who have looked at it, believe that the DC case can be distinguished from the New York and Boston situation.
And that was my next question. How to distinguish it for us? How does this differ from what happened in Boston and New York?
Well,
are they just more careful in how they set it up?
Well, in Boston and New York, you'll recall, Mr. Sherwood, they set it up right after the bombing in London, right after the bombing in Madrid on the train, right after there had been specific, credible, known threats from alleged terrorists, and so the court in that case saw that or ruled that there was a special need established, and that factual basis does not seem to be present here.
What specifically are you guys doing to?
We're going to do several things. We're going to roll out a program of education and information that we launched last week, where we will inform the public about the bag search program and what their rights are. We're going to join with 2 local universities that will host a district-wide symposium for those same purposes. We have an online petition and hard copy petitions that the ACLU and its coalition partners are circulating. We're collecting names. Mary Beth Tinker has one with her. This petition is being circulated as we speak.
Hold it. Can you hold it for a moment?
Yes, sir. I work for Tom Sherwood.
Trying to get it accurate.
And we have we're announcing today that anyone who has been stopped by the Metro Police or Homeland Security, because they're cooperating and partnering with Homeland Security, should feel free to call the ACLU of the nation's capital and let us know their experience. Our number, of course, is 202-457-0800. And we will gather the facts from those individuals, and if they're interested in legal recourse, we'll give consideration to their individual situations.
Are you actually filing the suit?
We're not filing suit today, but as I said, it would appear, because WMATA has failed and refused to meet with us. We were happy to chat with them about ways to advance security on the subway and bus systems, but they ignored that request. But it would appear they're on a collision course with the ACLU and its coalition partners. And when it comes to the Bill of Rights, as I said, the ACLU will respond. Now, we believe that we can be safe and free, but we cannot be safe if we're not free. And the Metro Bag Search Program impacts millions of patrons of the system without suspicion, rendering them effectively guilty until proven innocent. And those are situations in which the ACLU will respond. Michael or Amy, you all want to add to anything?
The only thing I might add, from a national perspective, I mean, New York has been brought up. The New York Civil Liberties Union actually did great work uncovering data about the NYPD stop and frisk program, which is supposed to be based on reasonable suspicion, the standard required under Terry versus Ohio to stop and frisk somebody on the street. And what they found was almost 90% of the people stopped in these programs were non-white. So it's very clear that there is a disparate impact, even where there is supposed to be reasonable suspicion. So the idea that a suspicionless search wouldn't impact those communities in even greater extent, I think, is wishful thinking at best. And another thing I would point people to, Washington Monthly had an excellent article yesterday about the type of training that many law enforcement agencies receive, counterterrorism training, that's put on by people with an anti-Muslim perspective, with no actual training in counterterrorism or expertise, and they simply put out these anti-Muslim messages to our law enforcement in the guise of counterterrorism training. So you can be sure that that sort of inappropriate training is going to leak into any sort of activity where the police aren't required to articulate a factual basis for why they're doing what they're doing, and that's something we're very concerned about.
At the most recent Metro board meeting that I attended and this subject came up, several of the board members said, and the chief of police suggested, that you don't know what we know, and that's why they're doing what they do for security reasons. Several board members says, we're not police, we should let them do their job. Do they know something that we don't know?
After serving 16 years in the FBI, I am the last person to try to say that there are not threats to our community. We all know there are threats to our community, and our law enforcement officers and agencies should be focused on those threats. If there's not a factual basis to support a police officer being suspicion of somebody, there's probably somebody worse out there that they should go spend their time investigating, rather than stopping innocent people on the street and searching them for no reason at all.
Other inquiries?
Ask a question.
Pete, ask a question.
I'm good, Johnny.
You good? That's Pete Tucker, ladies and gentlemen, rising media star.
Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
And a failing. Okay, we're
Well,
all done.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Talk to our UDC Law students. They're good people, and we also have other interns from other places. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.